It shouldn't surprise anyone when I say that the Atomizer is overpowered as hell, but I mean it's really overpowered as hell. So overpowered that no other weapon in TF2 compares to its level of overpoweredness, and I mean any weapon, not just the scout ones. If you don't already know what the Atomizer does, it gives you a third jump at the cost of 10 health. It has 30% slower firing speed and 20% less damage against players, but I'm going to go ahead and say that these two stats are completely meaningless because nobody's actually trying to kill people with the bat anyways when you have a shotgun and a pistol at your disposal. In other words, these stats are meaningless. So we're really looking at an extra jump at the cost of 10 health. An entire extra jump. Say it however you'd like, 50% more scout jumping without touching the ground, 50% more floatiness, 100% less ground touching immediately following your second jump, and all of these are great ways to sell an overpowered product like the Atomizer. But what if I told you that the Atomizer gives you 90% damage mitigation? I mean, think about it this way. Let's say you're fighting against a soldier and a rocket is about to hit your face, but you use your extra jump to dodge the 100 damage rocket and only take 10 damage in return. That's 90% damage mitigation. No other weapon in TF2 gives you a passive 90% damage mitigation as cheaply as the Atomizer does. Sure, you can use a medic's uber charge to give you 100% damage mitigation for 8 seconds instead of just a single moment, but it has a recharge time of 40 seconds. And sure, you can use the scout's bonk atomic punch to get 100% damage mitigation for 8 seconds, but the recharge time is 24 seconds, and let's not forget the fact that you cannot use any of your weapons during this time. The Fists of Steel give you 40% damage reduction while they're active, but it's the same as the Bonk Atomic Punch in many ways because you can't use your weapons while they're active as well. And yes, you only get the effectiveness when they're active. The Atomizer is so much better than all of these options because although you get the damage reduction during a single point in time, it is passive and it can be used while you already have your primary weapon out. I think the only other weapon in the game that is as effective as the Atomizer are the Gunboats, which currently give you 60% passive damage reduction, but only from your own attacks. Let's remember that the Atomizer gives you damage reduction from enemy attacks, making them far more effective than the Gunboats. Yes, the Atomizer's 90% damage reduction that you get from proper use of the weapon is so good, but it gets even better if you dodge 2 rockets instead of 1, giving you 95% damage reduction. It's the gift that keeps on giving. Each source of damage that you dodge increases the effectiveness of this overpowered weapon. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd argue that the Atomizer is so good that it is absolutely mandatory and must be used by all scouts regardless of situation. But let's take a look and compare it to the other melee options for scout to show you guys that it's not just overpowered when compared to the other options available to other classes, but also overpowered compared to the other options that are available to the scout. Let's start with the most useless option, the Sun on a Stick. A great promotional item for Rift, but a terrible item for the Scout. You'll rarely ever use its bonus. Useless. The Fan of War. Also worthless. If you're close enough to get value out of the Fan of War, you may as well start shooting at the person at point blank range with your primary weapon. This weapon encourages team play, since you're weakening a target for your teammates to shoot, but right now you'll probably only be seeing it used against robots in Man vs. Machine. Useless. The Candy Cane. Okay, this weapon at least gives you a passive bonus instead of an active one, which makes it immediately better than any of the other options I've gone over. However, the Candy Cane raises your explosive vulnerability by 25%. This is so bad, I can't stand it, especially when you compare it to the 90% damage reduction capabilities of the Atomizer. It's like, would I rather take 25% more damage or 90% less damage? Tough choice. Useless. Boston Basher. Samesies with this one, would I rather do 40 damage to myself or take 90% less damage? This weapon is a clear loser, and the only reason it's used in the pro scene is because the Atomizer is banned. Useless. I'd like to also take this opportunity to rule out the stock melee bat as an option, since it gives you no utility and is inferior to your primary weapon in every way. Don't use it because it's useless. Last up are the Sandman and the Rap Assassin. I'm lumping these two together because they're both projectile weapons and the most viable alternative to the Atomizer. The Sandman should probably see more use than the Rap Assassin because although you have 15 less maximum health using it, you can stun a player completely and make them sitting ducks to kill. The Rap Assassin doesn't have that penalty, but it's spammable every 11.25 seconds. So when you're standing back with nothing better to do, you can just fire off a shot for the hell of it. When I'm looking at these weapons though, I can see that they help the Scout overcome a weakness, which is a lack of long distance spammable weapons. So while I understand why some players use these weapons, I see them as inferior to the Atomizer and are ultimately bad choices due to the opportunity cost. Again, you have to ask yourself, would I rather do 55 damage from range with a clear chance of missing, right? Or would I rather have 90% damage reduction? The damage reduction is the clear winner here, making the Rap Assassin useless, and the Sandman stun isn't as reliable either, making it a maybe at best, but honestly, the Atomizer is just so much better than both of these. Ultimately, the 90% damage reduction offered from the third jump of the Atomizer makes it way more appealing than any of the other Scout melee options, and so much more appealing than any other weapon in the game. And come on guys, I haven't even gotten to the utility of having a third jump. The mobility options are endless, as triple jumping can get you into places on the map that are otherwise unreachable. Valve, I'm calling you out. Nerf the Atomizer, please.